Come on.
Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Friday, January 24th, 2020. Here is our top story: the impact of the financial wellness coach. Well, let's welcome to the program Megan Scipione. She is a financial wellness coach. Megan, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, it's great to see you. So let's talk about financial wellness coach. What does that mean?
So, Jeff, essentially what I do is I really help people see their money more clearly. I help them see their assets, their debt, their cash flow, and their wealth protectors like insurance and expert advisors. It's really hard to actually get a handle and see your money clearly, and that's what a coach can help a client do.
And many of our viewers may know the term financial advisor, okay, and that's traditionally what a financial advisor does. But I think the role that you have is a kind of a hybrid and a newer version of the financial advisor. Wouldn't you agree?
So that's right, Jeff. So essentially, I'm doing the work with a client and basically busy professionals and families to get them in shape to eventually work with a financial advisor. So to get them into a shape where they've got money and wealth to manage, and then I pass them along to a financial advisor. So I'm helping with like the blocking and tackling, the budgeting, debt pay down, integrating benefits at work with what benefits you need at home. I'm not selling insurance or investments. It's really a fee for service model.
Yeah, and that seems to be, with all the discussion around the fiduciary rule that we had all in 2019 and 2018, and discussions about commissions and sales representatives and whose best interest. Hopefully I got that right. I mean, this is really kind of the new paradigm shift where things are going. Helping people to pay a fee instead of earning a commission.
That's right. And essentially, whereas a financial advisor would really aim to work with their clients, for the remainder of their lifetime and even with their children and legacy, I'm working with my clients for essentially a much shorter period of time. It's really from 4 to 6 months in general. And I'm really trying to help them put together a plan to organize and optimize finances and then give them the tools and show them how to manage their finances on their own. We're working together at the beginning during that 4 to 6 month period, like on a weekly or bi-weekly schedule. But the goal for them is to be able to spend, once they stop the engagement and they kind of launch, that they're just spending an hour or two per month on their finances. That's really as little as it takes to be in a position to build a strong financial foundation.
So I want to hit you with, I'm sorry, go ahead, finish your thought.
Kind of once you have the tools, the knowledge, and the resources.
I apologize for interrupting you. I want to hit you with a couple of buzzwords. I hate jargon, I hate buzzwords, but let's talk about financial literacy. How does that dovetail into what you do?
So Jeff, financial literacy is really important. So you've got it here in Massachusetts. They're pushing to get a financial literacy requirement at the high school level. I am 100% behind that. I think where financial wellness just takes it a step further. So financial wellness is the combination of the information and education financially. And then the step further, the wellness part, it kind of incorporates what exactly does my household need to do? What steps do I need to take to implement the education I've just learned to be able to improve my outcomes, my financial outcomes later on?
And then we hit you another word now, student loan debt or debt. Let's just talk about debt in general, and then you can dovetail if you want into student loan debt. But I got to imagine you're talking to all different types of people, all different types of families at different socioeconomic levels. Debt's got to be top of mind for many of these people.
Sure. So student loan debt, Jeff, as you know, 1.6 trillion. It's one of the largest components of debt in America today. It's certainly a concern for many folks. I'm working with a client right now, for example, who is 31, and she's still paying off student loan debt that she borrowed at 18 and 19. Didn't finish her degree, but she still has the student loan debt.
That's it can be a daunting task, right? To pay that off, and that gets in the way of other financial goals, I would imagine. I mean, how do you balance? How do you set aside and balance those conflicting, oftentimes conflicting things?
Yeah, so it's really about meeting the client where they're at. So there are a couple of different paths you can take. The competing goals, as you talked about, is savings versus debt pay down. Some families want to focus on the debt pay down. They're willing to sacrifice. Way easier to sacrifice when you're in your 20s, like sacrificing lifestyle, than when you're in your 40s and 50s. And so it's really just kind of trying to meet the client where they're at. If they want to go for it and kind of temporarily put lifestyle on hold in order to focus on the debt pay down, then that's the plan we put together. Other clients don't want to sacrifice lifestyle as much or feel that they can't. So they're going to just extend out the amount of time that it's going to take them to repay their debt. The clients that I'm working with essentially are folks in their late 20s to mid 50s. These are folks that are pretty high income earners. They are very busy. And so just therefore don't have the time to put their attention on this and really don't have the tools and resources to do it. So these are clients that are coming to me that are typically not in financial distress. They just want to get organized and optimized.
But the principle is the same, right? I mean, whether you are affluent, non-affluent, wherever you sit on the socioeconomic scale, the principles of saving, planning, dealing with your hurdles along the way, they're kind of the same.
That's exactly right, Jeff. And let me just talk a little bit. So I have five broad principles that I teach clients. And as you said, it really doesn't matter where they are in the socioeconomic spectrum. But number one, most important principle is to spend less than you earn. And this
makes sense.
Makes sense. It's super easy to understand, but in reality, it's really difficult for people to do because even if you have a steady income, you actually don't know how much money is coming in and going out each month because your bills typically are all monthly, but you do have some quarterly bills. You may have some annual bills. So it's really hard thing to do. So putting together a spending allocation plan, whether you want to call it a budget or just a spending plan, is super important. The second thing is to have emergency funds in place. And this is something I know one of your guests recently spoke about, so I'm not going to go too far into depth on that. But really, really important. The size of the emergency fund is really going to vary based on whether you have consumer debt that you're actively trying to pay off or whether you just simply have mortgage debt. The third is to pay off and avoid non-mortgage debt. Mm-hmm. So, and of course, we talked about the duration, how long it's going to take you to do that. It really depends on meeting the client where they're at. And then finally, building wealth using building wealth using retirement plans that you can access through work and building wealth through your primary residence, using real estate, which is going to typically increase in value over time. I think sometimes people feel that they have to do something exotic or strange or invest directly in the stock market to build their financial stability over time. And that's just not true. And then finally, to wrap it all up, an important thing is to make sure that you have wealth protectors in place. So do you have the right insurance in place? And are you using expert advisors like tax advisors, investment advisors, and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, those are all wonderful principles. And, I know we've talked about these with other guests, maybe not the same principles, but it doesn't hurt to continue to bring these things up, Megan. I appreciate you doing that. So I want to go to a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk to Megan about some of her clients, some case studies she can share, and also how do you pick an advisor? We're going to talk about that, so stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network. Welcome back. We're talking to financial fitness, financial wellness, personal coach, Megan Scipione. Megan, thanks so much for sticking around with us this morning.
Jeff, thanks so much. It's great to be with you.
So you outlined early in the last segment the principles, all great principles. And as I said, I don't mind hearing them over and over again. I know the audience doesn't as well. And everyone has it takes a little bit of different perspective from each and every segment we do. You talked about being a bridge. I love this and what you're doing because you're actually helping people get their act together, get it straight, and then you pass them along to an advisor. So let's talk about principles, things that you look for when helping a client select a financial advisor. That's not an easy thing to do, by the way.
Oh, sure. So when helping clients select a financial advisor, this is something that's generally kind of takes them a year or two because we put a plan in place. We work together for 4 to 6 months. Then they've got to go and execute the plan. Then if they come back to me, it's really about ensuring that they find an advisor that is going to be the right fit for them. I do have several referral partners that I have vetted, that I trust, that I that kind of really have similar principles that they follow, kind of that align with the principles that I follow. So making sure that they wouldn't want to keep their client in debt, like mortgage debt, for example, in order to direct more money to them to invest. So it's really about kind of making sure that that everything is aligned.
Yeah. Well, I certainly think that's important. And I think a lot of people don't do that. I think a lot of people, get your feedback on this, but I think a lot of people, when they're picking a financial advisor, it might be someone that their friend recommended. And they're not looking at some of those more soft skills, but they're looking at the return. Hey, my buddy, this financial advisor returned 10%. But you know what? That 10% may have been for 1 year, but how did they do the other 5 years or 10 years? It's a lot more about feel and fit and those qualitative and soft skills, right?
Absolutely. It's just making sure that you're comfortable with the person. You're going to be meeting with them on a quarterly basis. Do you trust that person? Do they have your best interests at heart? So I do think it's important to ask around your colleagues and friends and who are they using and why are they using them? But it's really important to do multiple interviews for potential financial advisors because it is such a long-term relationship. You want to make sure that you're being paired with someone that you're going to want to work with for that length of time.
I kind of liken it to picking a doctor, a general practitioner, your internist. When you're picking your internist, you want to make sure that he or she has the education, the background, the bedside manner that you like, and you want to vet that person. You're not looking to just have that person understand your vitals and then you're off to someone else the next time around. So it's very important to do that due diligence. And I got to imagine, Megan, that you also have to understand their role as a fiduciary. That's a word that we use on this show a lot. But that role, whether they're a delegated type of fiduciary or a full service fiduciary, very important to know as well.
Yeah, and Jeff, one thing I wanted to just highlight, you talked about it's like likening it to choosing a physician. Super, super important there. The even just what the clients are telling me, my clients are telling me things that they wouldn't tell anybody else. I mean, really, really personal information. And that's essentially what you're going to need to be talking to a financial advisor about in order for them to manage your wealth properly over time. The personal finances really are personal. The life milestones that we all approach, although they're kind of typical and standard, there's so many nuances to those life milestones that in order to get the best outcome, the client has to be 100% honest about everything, which is very similar to when you go to your doctor and they ask you to tell them everything, even the ugly that you are not talking to anybody else about.
And that means being able to relate to that person. So whether you prefer a male or a female, someone of like age, younger age, I mean, that really is a personal decision-making tool or concept that you have to embrace. And you have to be willing to share those things. If you don't explain how you're feeling inside and the important things that matter, you can't get good advice, whether it's from the doctor, whether it's from the carpenter trying to build your house. You have to share your preferences.
Absolutely.
Megan, I want to use the remainder of our segment to talk about some case studies, because you had shared the 31-year-old, can't get it out today, who you're working with, who still has some student loan debt. Can you share some other cases that you've worked on, or maybe just build off of that? Because I think that is where people can step into those shoes and learn from those experiences, and will help them win their own.
Sure. So this 30-year-old woman, really a very fun client to work with. When she came to me, she had basically fallen into all of the bad financial traps that you could fall into. Again, she had that student loan debt without a degree, and a 10-year, it continued to looking out another 10 years to pay off. She had a car lease. She had a timeshare that she wasn't using, and she really had no handle on her spending. So she had a very good income, a lot of good money coming in, but a lot of money going out. So she was essentially living paycheck to paycheck and not saving anything.
Wow.
And one thing, in terms of how easy it is to not have a handle on your spending, think about it. People sign up for subscriptions, they put their credit card down, and then the subscriptions keep coming in, whether it's something coming into your home, like a meal kit, or it's an entertainment subscription. This young woman found like hundreds of dollars worth of subscriptions that she wasn't using, including 2 subscriptions to HBO. And it was two subscriptions.
Double the price and double the content, I would imagine, but it's got to be the same content.
Yeah, we have the HBO Plus and the HBO Go. It's kind of where you could use them. But anyway, so we put together a plan. She's got the student loans on track to be paid off inside of 2 years. She's got a plan to buy out the car at the end of the lease, and she's building a savings account to be able to have the money in place to do that. We're in the process of deeding back the timeshare to the timeshare company, so that she can get rid of those monthly maintenance payments, which were really kind of dragging her down. And again, she's budgeting. She's tracking her spending. She knows what's going in and what's going out. She hasn't cut her lifestyle drastically. She said to me the other day that it felt good, that she was happy to have a 2-year payoff. She, in addition to the student loan, she had $10,000 of credit card debt. So she's got that all done. It's just 2 more years to two this year and the next year to pay off the student loan debt. So I've really kind of, like I said, personal finances are personal. So I've helped clients with a wide variety of challenges, things from, should I loan money to a sibling? To, is the insurance that I have in place adequate? And what some of the most rewarding for me is helping people start saving for retirement again. I've just done an implementation at a medical facility here in Boston, where the medical professionals get an excellent retirement match. And many of them I found were not saving for retirement. So over that implementation, really just getting them back on track to get, for them to a 10 to 15% savings rate.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for sharing that. And I guess got to, just say that it always boggles my mind that not boggles my mind, but it just goes to show you that even people who have a high net worth or make a good living don't always make the right decisions when it comes to budgeting, saving, and they need help too. So no matter where you are, again, I just want to reiterate this, no matter where you are in the socioeconomic scale, and I hate using classifications, but no matter where you are, there's someone out there just like you or in the same position. And I think you can learn from anybody. Well, Megan, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Really interesting stuff. I think what you're on to is really the future in how to bridge the gap and work with a financial advisor and help people get themselves back on track. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program very soon.
Jeff, thanks so much. It was a pleasure to speak with you today.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a financial topic or someone of interest that you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. And don't forget, we're back again tomorrow for an episode of BRN Weekly, our retrospective look back show at the best segments of the week. So until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Waiting here for you to take and drink of. But if you're tired of the same